Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome back to A Realm Reborn Restart. In this series, we're playing the patch 2.0 to 2.55 main scenario in Final Fantasy XIV because they're changing it in patch 5.3. It'll still be the same story, but they're going to be changing the pacing, adding flying to A Realm Reborn zones, and you know what? I want to have a frame of reference to compare it to. So we're playing through it again with a bunch of restrictions, and you can check all of that out in the description of the video. There'll also be a little eye in the top right of the video to check out the playlist as a whole, so be sure to check that, and the description will have a link to the playlist as well. Alright, so this is the fourth video I'm releasing, but it is actually a summary of days 5 and 6. I really felt like the 2-day summary just had a lot more to say when we did it with days 3 and 4, and 5 and 6 I feel very much the same way. At this point, I spent about 13 hours on days 5 and 6, and my total playtime by the time I logged out on day 6 was 37 hours and 8 minutes. Now for days 5 and 6, in that time, my goal was get to level 50 and make as much main scenario progress as possible. And I'm happy to say we were, at least for the most part, successful. We got from level 39 to 50 in days 5 and 6, and not only that, but we hit level 50 about the time we were at the level 44 main scenario quest. So we stayed way ahead of the dreaded leveling curve that plagues non-preferred worlds for new players. In those 11 levels, we finished the remaining guild hests, which I forgot ended at level 40. For some reason, I thought they ended at 45, but I was very wrong about that. We also did 6 total guild hest roulettes, one for every day, and we also finished the Thaumaturge hunting log and finished the Thaumaturge and Black Mage job quests. However, the majority of my experience, especially from 40 to 50, came from the 2 leveling roulettes we got to do and the dungeons that we got to do. Now, I said that it would be really important to track how many leveling roulettes it took us in the amount of playtime it took for me to get 50. So because this took 6 days and I didn't have leveling roulettes on the first day, this took a total of 5 leveling roulettes. Each of these was approximately a level or more. So it's very important to track not just the number of hours, but the number of days. It's also important to note that 37 hours for a lot of people could mean a lot more leveling roulettes than this. So you could be way further ahead of the main scenario, and these 5 roulettes account for 5 of the 6 levels that I was ahead of the main scenario by the time I hit 50, so they're no joke. As for outright dungeons, for the most part we managed to only directly queue into dungeons a single time each. Now I did break this rule towards the end. I did 2 Cutter's Cries, I did one at 38, and then I did one at 39 when we started day 5. I also did Zamiel Darkhold 3 times in a row, just doing a few quests in between each queue. But I only had to do the level 47 dungeon, Orumvale, a single time. We also didn't even get Stone Vigil, the level 41 dungeon that's part of the main scenario, until I was already almost level 50. I think I was like 48, and I think I dinged over to 49 in that Stone Vigil, so we were so far ahead of everything. As for current progress, I'm currently on the final level 46 main scenario quest. As soon as I hand this in, it's going to jump right to level 49. There's then going to be 6 level 49 main scenario quests, then 2 level 50 story quests, and then we're done with the 2.0 main scenario quest, and we can move on to 2.1 through 2.55. Honestly, this would have been kind of brutal. There's also a jump from 44 to 46 that I forgot about, so the story, the number of quests speeds up a lot here at the end, and it definitely goes to show you how much progress they've made and available experience points that I was able to stay as far ahead as I could, because these jumps can be absolutely horrible for a new player if you didn't start in a preferred world. If you did, you might even be level 60 by the time you get to the end of the A Realm Reborn, or at least by the end of the 2.55 main scenario. But without it, I'm glad I went this road, because it would have been way too easy if I did this on a preferred world, at least for the sake of what we're testing here. But I was still so surprised to be level 50 that far ahead of the main scenario. I had sort of thought that it was going to work. The idea was that I needed to make sure I didn't get level locked from 46 to 49. So as soon as I figured I had enough experience points to, maybe have to do a few of the 49 quests in order to hit 50, then I stopped doing things on the side. I stopped doing side quests in the very early levels. I just focused on some of the more group-related content, and that's really what carried me to the end. But there's a few things in particular I want to highlight that definitely kept me ahead of the curve the whole way. Number 1, and this is a big one, joining a free company. Now, I had a 10% EXP buff pretty much from level 12 onward. I think it was level 12 when I got invited to some random free company on the server I was on. Definitely make it a point, if you're a new player, to join a social free company early on. Not only is this buff incredibly valuable for keeping you ahead of the main scenario, or at least being a part of it, but it's better to just have people to talk to. I didn't for the sake of this because I was live streaming, you know, that was my social experience. But for a new player, establishing some sort of social experience early really puts the multiplayer in a lot of the way that I did this, to be honest. Now, something I was horrible at, but I would highly recommend, is eating food often. You get a 3% experience point buff whenever you eat food, and you know what? It adds up over the 1 to 50 process. It doesn't apply to everything, neither does the 10% EXP buff from being part of an FC, but so, you know, I forgot this a bunch, but I started remembering it a lot after I got past level 30. You can find cheap food at most vendors. Some of it you can get from quests, but keep like some grapes or raisins on you or something at all times. Just pop them every time you're going to be doing anything, and make sure you have that food buff. Honestly, I said that in part 3, getting a lead on the main scenario was a really big deal, and I cannot stress enough how big of a deal it was for me to get a lead early and not just stick to the main scenario quest. I did the majority of my side quests in the first 15 levels, and I did some from 15 to 20, but it started trailing off more and more as I got past that level 15 point. I would use it like if I was in a queue and my main scenario quest or my side quest I was currently doing had like an instanced section that would require me to leave the duty finder, that's when I would fill time with things like fates or side quests, because again, my goal is to never be sitting around not doing anything while waiting on that dungeon queue. So after we got past level 20, there was only a few of them, and honestly, this lead from the early point set me up for success pretty much the whole way once I got my dungeon and guildhest roulettes, and as I started unlocking more and more dungeons. We did also make sure to unlock leave quests in every camp that we traveled to. We also grabbed a few random quests here and there to unlock new features, because some of them rewarded Grand Company seals or experience points, but there's a very small portion of the experience points overall, and we never repeated leave quests after doing the initial unlock in the zone. Speaking of doing stuff in between queues, overall I'd say I did between 30 and 40 fates. I'm not logged in right now to check what the actual number is, but it took me a couple days after getting the challenge log before I even got to the 10 fates, and I know I didn't do that many of them across pretty much the entire time. Honestly, my one criticism is I should have done more. Despite my progress seeming impressive, one thing that I failed to do, or failed to even consider, is Grand Company ranking. I never even got to Flame Private 3rd class for the Immortal Flames, which you ideally have before unlocking Cutter's Cry at level 38. There's Grand Company hunting logs in that dungeon at that level, and I still haven't unlocked them. And that could be a problem for a new player. That's a point we'll definitely have to hit on by the end of the series as we look back at things that they really should focus on improving, on top of just streamlining the main scenario itself. Oh, and another thing, unlock combat for your Chocobo at 30. It's over in Camp Tranquil in the South Shroud, and you want to keep that Chocobo out as often as possible. I, as a Black Mage, went down the healer tree so I could try to get Choco Regen and eventually Choco Cure. Choco Cure came way too late for me. I feel like I could have sped this up a lot by doing Fates with my Chocobo out. Would have been killing 2 birds with 1 stone, getting the experience for the Chocobo from the Fates, getting him to rank 4 sooner, and getting my Grand Company unlocks, which you 100% want for a lot of the features that come after level 50 or at level 50 proper. It's not super important, but they are things that I would highly recommend any new player do. So that could be a major improvement that I could have made. If I had gone a healer, I would have gone a DPS Chocobo, but either way, because it was a healer Chocobo, I didn't want to put it in healing stance, so I left it in free stance the whole time. That way it would auto attack at least and do a little bit of damage, but then it would throw me a regen and a cure now and again, and that was more than enough to help me out through, especially a lot of the level 30 to 50 fates. So with that, we've really hit our stride with A Realm Reborn Restart. The fact that I will be done with the main scenario for 2.0 very soon means I need to start thinking about everything after. Now, because I am not considering going through Heavensward or Stormblood with this character, and we're only going to be going to 2.55, my priorities are actually a little bit almost misconstrued compared to how they would normally be for a new player. I'd personally recommend you still make the leveling roulette part of your daily process while playing, because while we may have stayed ahead in the A Realm Reborn main scenario, this is not a problem exclusive to A Realm Reborn. Realm Reborn has giant gaps in levels. While Heavensward and Stormblood, if you do not have an adequate lead on them, it catches up to you in the higher level portions of it. So making the leveling roulette part of your daily process would definitely add some hours on to the process of getting through 2.1 to 2.55. That being said, we're not going to be doing that. We're not going to do main scenario roulettes. We're not going to do leveling roulettes. We're barely even going to unlock side dungeons, which is another thing. So what I'm thinking we're going to do is we're going to finish all the mandatory stuff, and then we'll also do a little side project after we get all that done to go back and complete a lot of the content unlocks in A Realm Reborn. We're not going to do anything crazy like unlocking and doing synced coils or anything. I would never recommend a new player do something like this. You can do them unsynced at max level to experience the story. But I had to start considering this stuff because now we need goals for the beginning of week 2. So tomorrow will mark day 7 of A Realm Reborn restart. So what are our goals for week 2? First up, finish the patch 2.0 main scenario. We can't really move on to anything else until we do that, and that's going to clock in at about 40 hours total. After that, we have to look to advancing our character, not just through the story, but through item levels. At every level gap, 50, 60, 70, and 80, and then eventually whatever gets added later, there is an item level climb, a vertical climb of strength that you can do. Now for the older expansions, it's pretty much just a very linear way of approaching this. You'll start getting a currency known as tomestones, and the first tomestones that you end up getting, you can use to purchase level 50, 60, and 70 armor. So what we're going to do is we're going to get some tomestones from the end of the main scenario, the Castrum Meridianum and Praetorium dungeons, and we're going to put those towards getting a weapon for our character. Now the main scenario currently does eventually reward you with more armor, more weapons, accessories that will raise your item level naturally, but we can way exceed that and make our character super strong for the remaining of 2.1 to 2.55 by putting these tomestones towards a weapon. The level 50 job quest also gave us full I-90 left side armor, so we're good on that front. We just need to make sure to take care of weapons and accessories, and we're not going to be going too far out of our way to get this done. There is also the ring from the hunting log. If you finish all 5 tiers of it, you get like a ring from an achievement vendor. It's not a super high item level, but we might just pick it up while we're waiting. Might as well. I'll probably just be in leveling rings otherwise. To get even more tomestones and to fulfill a mandatory thing that we have to do in order for this to be complete is unlock the Crystal Tower 24-man raids. Now this will be mandatory in patch 5.3 in order to progress to the Heavensward main scenario. So we're going to make it mandatory for this series. We'll get tomestones and even as we get to some of the later parts, left side armor that may be better than what we have now. So the sooner we can get to this, as long as we have the minimum item level to enter, the better off we're going to be in the long run. Now, after the Crystal Tower, I'd like to move on to 2.1 through 2.55 main scenario quests. Now, a reminder, we're only currently doing what is mandatory to progress. We won't be doing Binding Coils, Hildebrand, or even optional dungeon content until potentially after 2.55 is complete. We do need to do Ifrit, Garuda, and Titan hard mode as part of the 2.5 main scenario, but we're not going to be stopping to do the Relic or Zodiac quest lines either. We're just looking at the mandatory period of time to get to Heavensward, because this is the topic that's being changed in 5.3. I did suggest earlier, after we finish mandatory activities, we may tag on some things at the end to then see if you were to do all of this stuff, how long would it take a brand new player? Because then we have another comparison point to compare in 5.3 in case they streamline anything else like Grand Company ranks. And with that, though, that's going to be a wrap for our 4th summary video on A Realm Reborn restart. I'm so glad those of you who have been watching it have been encouraging it and enjoying it. The live stream has been bumping as of late, and it's really nice to see people taking an investment and a lot of people taking on this challenge when we're probably going to have a while until the next patch because of everything going on. Now, I do want to say I've put some thought into unleashing the videos onto YouTube. And some people have just suggested breaking it up into a lot of small parts and uploading it. I think if I do upload it, and I'm still torn back and forth, and I gotta look through the comment sections to the old one. I may even make a video actually just straight up asking my YouTube comment section to please help me make a decision. I might just literally lift the entire upload, the like 5 to 7 hours that I have on it per day. Just throw it on YouTube. I mean, people are asking for it. People want to see how I made this progress. They want a reference point. I get that. I just think it's not good content for YouTube. So you've heard me say this. I'm going to keep reading the comment section. Expect a video of me directly asking for feedback on this because I really need it. I need it compiled somewhere. But thank you everyone for watching this video. Stay tuned because we're going to be trucking through 2.1 to 2.55 soon enough. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. Check the playlist. Again, it's in the description. Plus, you had that eye earlier in the video. Can't link another one. And I will see you all in the next one. Until then, take care.